Alright, so we've done a lot of videos of why people are moving to Ann Arbor. We know that they have excellent schools, excellent healthcare, there's a lot of jobs, there's things to do. But what we want to cover today is why people are actually leaving Ann Arbor, or maybe not even moving to Ann Arbor in the first place. Now what I've done is I've compiled a list of the top 7 reasons of why people are leaving Ann Arbor, Michigan. And this list comes from people that I've talked to, people that I've worked with, and it also comes from different sources across the internet, whether that be Quora or Reddit or whatever it might be, just random searches of why are people leaving Ann Arbor, Michigan. So if that's the content you're looking for, make sure you hang out till the end where we go over the top 7 reasons why people are leaving Ann Arbor, Michigan. And just so you're aware, these 7 things are not in any specific order. I'm not just going, number 1 the worst down to number 7 the least worst. We're just grabbing 7 topics where we're just gonna start talking about them. So number 1 on that list is it's a college town, right? So a lot of people are moving here because it's a college town, because it's got great education, and a lot of people end up staying around because they love being here. But a lot of people also end up leaving because it is a college town, because it's a very large college town. And some people end up leaving just because of that, right? Because, Ann Arbor, Michigan does rank pretty high on, well-educated people. So sometimes people that, that come from small area of the country like myself, I grew up in the small town Upper Peninsula, Michigan of Marquette, came from a small university. I didn't come from University of Michigan, so some people that come here from different universities or different walks of life and they move into Ann Arbor, sometimes they get that feeling that they just don't belong. Like, I'm not part of the clique of University of Michigan. Look, that's not everybody, but sometimes people get that vibe. They get that feeling that they just don't belong in this college town, in this atmosphere of the University of Michigan. So number 2 on this list, I know you probably didn't see this one coming, but number 2 is the power outages. We experience, not only a lot of power outages, but we experience lengthy power outages, and that's a crazy thing. You wouldn't think that with these highly populated areas that we would be out of power for so long, and this can be very challenging, be it in the hot summer months as we're approaching summer here now, or if you're in the winter months and you're without power. This becomes a very big challenge. People are racing out to go buy generators or whatever it might be, or somebody might have an automatic backup generator at their house, so sometimes that comes into play when you're going to look for a house. Hey, real quick, that's why you're here on this channel. The number 1 relocation team in Ann Arbor and Southeast Michigan. Again, this is Travis Juntti with the Living in Detroit Southeast Michigan team. All my contact information is down below, and make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little notification bell to make sure you get notified anytime we put out new content. And without further ado, let's keep going. So anyways, yeah, the power outages, right? So I know there's some areas that might be out for a couple hours or just a few minutes, just a blip on a radar, but here we do have some challenges with some longer power outages. In here specifically in Southeast Michigan, our major power provider is DTE. I know there's some other areas, if you go into Wyandotte, into Detroit, you got Wyandotte Power. Sometimes Northern Metro, you have Consumers Energy, but this is a problem, for a lot of Michigan as a whole, where they have these larger conglomerate power companies where it's just tough to find the root of the cause of some of these things. Like I said, I'm not a power guy, but I just hear a lot of people talking, and even myself, we do have some lengthy outages, and sometimes it's in specific areas. You don't really know, where they're going to be hit by power outages more often than not in one place or another. I just know that, hey, people don't like it, and sometimes people are leaving for that. So number 3 on this list of why people end up leaving, or maybe just not coming altogether, is the high housing costs. So a lot of people are thinking about moving to Ann Arbor. Obviously, you hear all the great things, you hear all the great healthcare, the great education, a lot of the things to do. But people they look into this area and they're like, holy smokes, Ann Arbor is super expensive, and that is true. I mean, it is a challenge. I mean, if you're looking to be within the city limits of Ann Arbor and you want to feel that buzz of Ann Arbor, you're living in the city limits of Ann Arbor. I mean, you're kind of in that circle of Ann Arbor there. And if you're looking to do that, you're going to be paying considerably higher. And with that, I mean, there's just not a lot of room to grow, to build more places. I know they are knocking some old places down, building some new construction up. They're doing some infill development, building up some condos and stuff. With that being said, it's just, with the demand of people moving to Ann Arbor, there's just not enough supply for that. So the prices are just keep going up. They keep going up. And obviously, with all these news outlets, giving us the high praise of the number 1 place to live, top 5, top 8, whatever it is, it's becoming more challenging to find a place to live, and the housing cost just keeps driving up and up and up. So a lot of people just don't end up moving to Ann Arbor. A lot of times what they end up doing is end up moving to the surrounding cities. And like I said, that's why you reach out to me, Travis Juntti, with the Living in Detroit, Southeast Michigan team. I work, Ann Arbor, all of Southeast Michigan. I will help you find a place that is fit for you. Again, Travis Juntti, Living in Detroit, Southeast Michigan, and Ann Arbor. All my contact information is down below. Reach, call, text, email, whatever is best for you. We'll set up a time to chat and find out what the best location is for you to move. So number 4 on this list is the taxes, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the housing cost. We kind of slide right into taxes. Nobody likes really talking about taxes, but hey, if you're living in the city of Ann Arbor, your taxes will likely be considerably higher than some of the other municipalities that you may have considered here in Michigan, and maybe some places depending on where you're moving from, right? So in the challenge with Ann Arbor is you got the U of M that's buying up a lot of these different places across the city, and when they buy these places, because they are a university, because of their education, government entity, so to speak, basically they're not paying taxes. So now that is in turn bumping up your taxes, because the less stuff that the city can tax on, now they're bumping up those taxes that increase your taxes. So a wonderful thing, right? So a lot of times people are moving out of Ann Arbor, moving out of the city. Sometimes they're moving out to a different place out of Michigan completely, but a lot of times they're just moving to a different, more rural area where they could still have a taste of Ann Arbor, go into Ann Arbor, but yet they live outside of the municipality where they can have a little bit lower cost of living and still enjoy that Ann Arbor life. Number 5 on the list is the traffic. This really depends on where you're coming from. I mean, if you're coming from a major municipality, maybe it's Washington, D.C., Baltimore, obviously those are places on the East Coast, Houston, Dallas, whatever it might be, you might be, you come in here like, well, this isn't so bad. Of course, you got to remember that Ann Arbor, Michigan is basically a population right around 120,000. With that being said, I mean, it's just not so bad. It's going to be a lot worse in the during the school year when there's a lot of students around. I mean, we have a very heavy student population, and also really a lot more challenging on football Saturdays. You're going to have a lot more people, as the big house does house upwards of 100,000 plus people. So a lot of times on those days you're going to have a lot more traffic. But what that being said, there's just not, the infrastructure just isn't the best for the traffic here. I mean, I know they're doing things continuously here in Ann Arbor to help alleviate some of that pressure, but I know they've also opened up some bike lanes, albeit very narrow sometimes. It can be challenging, with the traffic and with people walking around, and obviously you got to yield to pedestrians and you're looking out for people, and it's just, you got to have your head on a swivel. And a lot of people that are coming here, especially the students, are from outer areas, different nationalities and so on and so forth, and you're just not, if you're not used to your Ann Arbor traffic, it just becomes an adjustment period as you're coming into town. That being said, there is some public transportation, there are some buses, Amtrak in town, but it's just not the same quality as some other areas. I mean, sure, there's some walkability areas if you're living right in downtown Ann Arbor, but commuting into town, finding parking and stuff like that, it just becomes a little bit congested, a little bit of traffic. Of course, also if you hit the winter time, it's also a little bit more of a challenge, but we're not going to go there on this topic. So number 6 on this list is really just the overall cost of living. And when I'm talking about the cost of living, obviously a lot of things come into play. You got the housing costs, you got the taxes, you got the grocery. But one of the things I also wanted to highlight here was the restaurants, right? We have a lot of nice restaurants here. Some people might say they're just not as good as what they're touted to be. But yeah, we are a very highly popular place, here in Ann Arbor. People are talking about it, like I said, with the high rankings. But a lot of people just aren't really that excited about some of the restaurant choices, and not only the restaurant choices, but the cost of dining out at some of these restaurant places. I mean, people talk about these places like they're the best thing since sliced bread, right? I'm not a big restaurant connoisseur. I don't go to a lot of different restaurants. I have a hard time. Like I said, I come from small town Upper Peninsula, Michigan. I have a hard time spending $50 on a plate of food that I can just cook out of my smoker out there for a couple hours. But a lot of people complain about the different cost of restaurant food. They also say it's just really not that good. So if you're a person that really likes to eat out a lot, you like to experience food, but maybe you like to do it on a more of a budget, it's hard to find a good place to eat that is reasonably priced. Of course, there's nothing wrong with splurging once in a while to go out to a nice fancy dinner, but it's hard to do that every week or every night of the week, depending on how often you go out to eat. So number 7 on this list, and this is going to be a little bit different than kind of what you're thinking, right? So we're going to talk about the weather. Obviously, the weather, we have the 4 seasons. We have the snow, which not a lot of people like. We have the beautiful summers, beautiful falls. A lot of times we have great springs, depending on the rain and stuff like that. But a lot of people just aren't a big fan of the weather, especially for, you know, the cost of living and how people tout it about being such a wonderful place to be. Yes, we have great weather, but sometimes you just can't enjoy it for as long as you want to. We do have some of those long, dreary winter months where it just might be just wet or cloudy or snowy, and you just might not really enjoy that for the cost that you're paying to be here. A lot of people might be able to spend that same cost maybe somewhere down in Arizona or Florida or Colorado, where you have an abundance of sunshine, where we don't have that abundance of sunshine. We have a lot of gray, cloudy days, a lot of different snowfall. If you're a person that really just thrive off that vitamin D from the sun, this might not be the place for you. This might not be the place that you would love to call home, with the considerably other things that we talk about that people avoid, you know, being the cost of living, and so on and so forth. I do appreciate you guys watching this video. I'm super curious, you know, what is a reason that maybe kept you away from Ann Arbor? Maybe a reason that made you move away from Ann Arbor. I know there are some hot topics that I left out that I've talked about in other videos, but I'm curious, what is it that made you leave Ann Arbor? Put that down in the comments below. I'm super curious what that is. Maybe it's something that I covered in the past, maybe it's not. Like I said, I love hearing from you guys, and I appreciate you hanging out till the end. Again, this is Travis Juntti with the Living in Detroit, Southeast Michigan team, and this specifically is living in Ann Arbor. All my contact information is down below. Reach out anytime, and make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell to make sure you get notified anytime we put out new content. Until next time, we'll see you on the Living in Detroit, Southeast Michigan YouTube channel.